So, I am in my pajamas. I'm not in regular clothes and it's very apropos because I call I call these very cuddly pajamas because they feel that way on my body. Um, so, in an effort to focus on the positive, which I'm not saying I ignore the negative, but to focus on the positive, because that's what, I think when you're going through something that's not within your control, what is within your control is your attitude and how you react to things. And that's kind of what I've been told, over and over again, like in therapy and things like that. Like, because there's things that you're not going to have. And in life in general, my nose is running. You can't control people. You can't control the weather, even if you do a rain dance. You can pray. I do believe that, prayer, the power of positive intention and putting, like, for example, I remember when I watched, I can't remember what it was. It was when I was in Vermont, and it was a documentary, because I love watching documentaries, and there was a documentary, I think it was on basketball. I remember LeBron was featured in it, Anthony Edwards, this other guy that was from Eastern Europe. I forgot what team. I feel bad that I don't remember what team he's on. It basically showed like an in-depth look into their lives as NBA superstars or athletes, if you will, because athletes are basically superstars as much as we watch people on TV or movies, what have you. But I'll never forget, I don't know if he mentioned it was Kobe that did this or he did it, but like he said before every game he would do a visualization where he imagined he got in the mindset, I guess he put his headphones on and he put himself in the mindset of winning, right? Like feeling the feeling of winning or moving around the court in a certain way. So I do think that there is something to be said for that, because our minds are really powerful, and what we feed our mind, and we tell ourselves, it's not to ignore reality, because my reality is still the same. I still go through, like, I literally just took a shower, and I swear to God, I'm not kidding, I think there's, and I can't even prove it. I can't prove it, but I took a shower and I feel really weak after the shower. I think it's mercury. I know that's crazy to say that, and you're like, well, how are you still standing? Trust me, there's things in life that I don't, physics, quantum physics, things that I don't understand. But all I know is I keep my little dude over here, my little St. Benedict card. There's a prayer on the back of it, and I can read it for a second. It says, St. Benedict, ward off evil and seek protection from danger. St. Benedict, intercede for us that we may not fall victim to the lies and empty promises of the world. Guard us against poisoning of the body and as well of the mind and soul. St. Benedict, inspire me to live and die as a faithful child of God. And it's a dude with a really long beard, and he's holding a book. I don't know if this, it's fun to think that, there's a guy in the sky, or, some, I was going to say an angel, but like a spirit that once, a man that once lived, his name was St. Benedict, and, it's fun to think of that, and whether or not it works, I don't know, but I do keep him right there. I have my little miniature rosary thing too. And my food is still, I feel, being tampered with, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. It's hard, and but nonetheless, I tell myself that you have to keep pushing forward. People are gonna be disrespectful and mean, not just with gang stalking, just in general. People go through a lot of shit, and you either push forward and you do it scared, which is why I put that on my thing. You do it scared, and you build your support system, and you express yourself and say, hey, I'm scared. This is scary. Because there are forces out of my control. I can't stop people from being mean or persecuting me or calling me a Jesus freak or calling me whatever. I don't, that's their plight. if someone's going to spend their waking hours trying to come against me, whether it's politically, I mean, I'm not even politically active, you know, or whatever it is. I don't care if they want to test out certain things. I feel blessed that I can do this and speak about it, and hopefully find a solid ground, or people who, you know, will support me, I guess, or not support me, just, you know, understand, because it really is different when you have someone who understands your situation, right, versus someone who doesn't. Because, like, and this is where I'm going to actually go to next. I'm going to segue into what I'm going to talk about, because originally when I did, and I'm just uploading, I'm trying to upload the video as I'm multitasking as I do this. I don't know if it's going to let me, but we'll see. Or maybe not. I guess not. I'll do it later. So I'm going to segue into what I'm going to talk about. So this will be episode 3 of dating as a targeted person. How do you do that? Can you do that? Why are you doing that? Well, number one, when you're targeted and gang stalked, the number one thing is people want to make you feel inferior and make you feel like you're never going to have a normal life, like you don't matter, like the same rights and privileges that other people have, you won't ever have, and that the normal things that everyone else does, like go out to eat, you know, at a pizza place, or go for a drink at a bar with food. I'm very much a lightweight. I can't do, even before the targeting and stuff was like super heightened and escalated, I still wasn't privy to going to a bar. Like, I never was. I'm the kind of person, like, if you take me mini golfing, or I don't know, I did a date once in Philadelphia where I met him at an animal shelter, and I don't know why, I really wanted to, I also was kind of looking for a pet at the time. This was 3 years ago, and he was really sweet. I don't know if we had any chemistry, but we played with a puppy, and it was a lot of fun, and we walked the dog and everything. And for me personally, and this is just I'm going by experiences before I was like super targeted and whatever. I prefer dates that are like, they're like icebreaker dates. So like when you do something with someone, like for instance, if you're in an area that's very mountainous and has opportunities for hiking, that would be a good, because it's when you're working towards a common goal, you learn a lot about a person. Like if you learn about their level of patience, you know, are they a leader or a follower? You know, are they a sore loser if you do something competitive? Like you learn a lot about behaviors with a person versus, because let me tell you, I'll be honest, anybody could sit across from someone and be like, so what do you do for work? Oh, I was gonna say landscaping. Oh, I do, I'm in sales. Or he could say, I work, I don't know, as a bar manager, or I work in stock, or, you know, and then it becomes this very like interviewee type of thing, and it's awkward. For me, it's awkward because you're eating food, right? And they're watching you chew and masticate this food, and it's awkward because you don't know each other. And when alcohol is involved, obviously your inhibitions are lowered, you feel more at ease, it's like liquid courage. I'm very much a lightweight when it comes to anything. Like I can't do, I just can't, like I will never drink alone. Like I can't do, not drink alone, like me personally, like by myself, but I can't drink like wine just by itself. Like I will always, I've stopped because I can't really afford wine and stuff. I'm kind of scared to drink it too because I don't know if it'll get tampered with. I will only do like cocktails and stuff if I'm eating food, like with a meal, because in the alcohol, right, that alcohol absorbs really quickly in the GI tract. So that's why it affects you for me, it affects me pretty immediately. So I am not privy to, especially if you're going on a date, I want to put my best foot forward, right? I don't want to be plus I'm not if I get tipsy, I fall asleep. I'm not the kind of, some people get really slap happy and like, woo, I'm the sleepy kind of person where I'll just fall asleep. So I'm not really too keen on showing someone that side. Like, I don't want to be like falling asleep on someone. And then plus, what if the guy's a scoundrel and he takes advantage? There are people who do like date rape and, roofies and whatnot. So, which is scary. And I've already been through so much shit that I don't need to have that experience happen. But I'm the kind of person that I believe that if you're gonna date something, you should do like a fun, even if like if you're in your like late 30s or 40s. Let's say you're someone that's divorced, or because there's people who get divorced at 50, 60 years old, or they haven't met the right person, and they're in their late 30s or 40s. It's just, that's the way it turns out. Some communities, people already pair each other up with arranged marriages, or their friends groups are small and they know each other from university or from college and high school, whatever. But for the for the people out there who are in their 30s and or late 20s, and you're still kind of things are shifting though, and I think in modern day society more women are choosing to pursue careers that are aligned with what they want. Some people are taking gap years and they're traveling abroad, or doing like volunteer work, or doing their own startup business or content creation. So it's very, very different, I think, the landscape of like dating. And it's interesting to see from a sociological perspective, because my background is in sociology, so that's what I got my bachelor's in, and then I got my master's in psychology, developmental psychology, like human development. And so yeah, I think it's just, and I've learned one thing I will say that's really cool, and I can't afford to do it right now. There's an app called Trova Trip, where basically you can be the host or the coordinator of like a group. It's amazing how social media can bring people together, but you're basically the host of a group, and then you can invite other people to join your group, and then you travel as a group. It's pretty cool. Great way to make friends and stuff. But yeah, I can't really afford to do that right now. Anyways, or Hoosiers, since I'm in the Midwest right now. Going back to what I'm saying, trying to turn a negative into a positive. I can't change the situation around me, but I can change my attitude. But I want to talk about, because I told myself, how am I going to do this? How am I, going to navigate the experience of dating? Do I just do it virtually? Do I, because how do you trust, let alone a man, right? Like, and men are notorious. I mean, most of them are notorious for being scoundrels, philanderers, players, and women too. Women are known for doing that too. We can't say that we're not. There's women who are very good at using their, and I'm not trying to like bash my own gender or whatever, but some women, you see them, like I don't know, I don't want to be like that, not pessimistic or judgmental, but that they're trying to get the attention of the male, like with the way they dress, like on a Friday night, especially in Chicago. And I'm like, I look at myself and I'm like, man, I'm so boring, but I think, I'd rather be because, if you're trying to eventually build something long-term with someone, I'm not saying, I don't know, for me right now, not to say the casual thing is better, it's more of like, how do I describe this? There's so many different things I want to pick apart that I've learned as of recent for myself, and maybe it would help someone else. And now I'm going to get to that part. But when you're gang stalked and targeted, first of all, your experience is so unique that there's the element of danger, there's the element of wrongdoing, corruption, like there's so many things. And then so when you explain this to a regular schmegular person who's maybe never heard of it, and they're like, what do you, presenting it in a way that sounds believable, it's almost like you're trying to convince someone, like, not convinced, I don't know how to explain it, and excuse me, I apologize if I'm not explaining it properly, but, and I'm very optimistic. I'm very, I'm like a hopeless optimist, not a hopeless romantic, but like a ever enduring optimist, because I've seen the good in the world, and I had a beautiful life before all this shit started, and I know what I want out of a partnership with someone, and I'm not looking to get that right away with someone, and you can't force that either. I learned that, some people, they're like right from the beginning, they're like establishing the groundwork, and they're like trying to like already they're like, but this is what, like, like very, very forward, like, if it doesn't go this way and this is what I want and I want to be married by this time, I'm like, that's, once you get into the technical and you make dating technical and not fun, that's like the most unattractive thing for me. When you're talking too much about the way in which you want your situation to unfold, that's a red flag right there, by the way. But I learned that recently. I was like, you don't want to, if you're not talking about your life and getting to know each other, if that first conversation is only about how you want something to play out, that's a huge red flag, because I already know, because what is it? People want to say like, oh, I want to meet you within the first or whatever. And it's like, I realized after talking to someone else that I don't know, interested in, but connected with, I've learned that sometimes it's better to foster and cultivate a solid groundwork first, and French, and that's good too, because you're able to garner how that person would be as a form of support for you through what you're going through. And that's not to say that that's a replacement for like a therapist, or you want to create a trauma bond with somebody, but they need to understand what you're going through and be a form of support and respite. Now they may get targeted too, unfortunately, because what I've learned is that anybody who decides to support the targeted person, even financially, like, it's tough. It's really tough, because like, unless it's like prearranged by whoever the people are doing this whole thing, but I would hope that's not the case. But I do believe it's possible. I've seen couples that have been targeted together, like on YouTube, where they're like, they're in the car. So it happens. And I will say that I think people who understand and can speak to that experience more would maybe be more successful, because they're both sharing, it's a shared experience, versus me, because I told myself, how am I going to do this? Because if my food really is getting messed with, right? And I'm feeling funky and I'm going through all this stuff, how am I going to explain that or relay that to a man whose life is normal? And then what if he has kids? I was scared to date a guy with kids years ago, because I was like, then you have the mom, right, of the kids. I never want to be like a replacement mom, or not replacement. I never want to replace their birth mother, because that's their mom. I always think that if someone's divorced, there's enough love to go around, right? In my opinion, I think, the more love you have in a family, even if it's a blended family and you have a stepmom and this and that, that's more love to go around. But, baby mama drama, this and that, and whatever, that's not really my thing. But I've thought about that, and I go, okay, as a targeted person, I have to factor in, because what happens is with gang stalking is like, let's say I start dating someone, right? And then they have kids and they drive the kids to school. But the gang stalker people are out in full form, and they know, because, your phone gets hacked and all that shit. So they can go stalk the kids, or they can go poke holes in a guy's tire, or key their car, or, go up to the kids like, that's my fear. Honestly, that's one of my biggest fears is, a guy with kids, and because I don't want the kids to get hurt. That's because I worked with kids before, and I to me, they're the future, they're the next generation, and they need to be protected at all costs. So anyone's kids, whether they're in a shelter, whether they're in a family setting, or foster kids, whatever, you know. Yeah, so anyways, that's something of concern to me. And then also the guy's safety and well-being. You know, I tell my experience and I say I've gone through this and this. It's not like it's such a unique story because it's not a crazy ex, because I didn't date this guy. We were just caught like colleagues, and I was a student at his yoga class, and then it escalated and turned, you know, if you haven't watched my other videos, I kind of explain it in the other videos. But it is frustrating because I worry about hacking. I worry about, you know, just, and then his family, right? Like, because the stuff that's been happening to me is so avant-garde and so strange. It's so strange. Like I said, and here's the other thing, on the flip side of it, there's the people who are maybe actually gang stalkers themselves, but they pose as like love interest, and that's where the whole honeypot thing comes in, which is so stupid. I just call them jerks. I don't give them the name honeypots because I'm like, I'm not going to give credence to this bullshit. No offense. But they can come in and let's say they're in on it, however the fuck this whole program works or whatever the fuck it is, excuse my language. If you're a future employer and you watch me and you're like, man, she curses like a sailor, I'm like, well, I'm in my own home, and please don't judge me based on my channel. I'm a very kind, loving young woman. I've just been through a lot, and I'm an extremely hard worker, and I actually love working. But I wanted to get my message out because I'm legitimately scared for my life, but I also deserve to work because I need to make money and I need to make income. So if you happen to be an employer that comes across my channel, I don't know how because I don't have my name associated with it, please do not, you know, like, what's it called, based, you know, with social media and stuff, they always say, oh, employers, should they, you know, judge a candidate based on their resume and their application and also their social media? I mean, to an extent, yes, but like, also, I am a really hard worker, and I have references that can speak to my character and my work ethic. So that's that. Put that out of the way. But the whole dating thing, I've thought about it. There's a flip side. There's the good guys that are not going to be in on targeting. And if you're a man and you're going through this, you can apply the same logic, I think, for women. Because there's men that get targeted too and gang stalked, and, you know, they have the women come and try to cajole them and seduce and swooze or whatever. But I believe in my heart, you know, there are good men out there who would never hurt me and don't condone this crap or support it. And then there's people who are going to be greedy and money hungry, and they will get paid, literally, I kid you not, I think, money to be a love interest of yours. I'm not kidding. Like, I think there's men that literally will get, or people, they're perps or whatever, that will get paid to have a fake relationship with you, and they'll get a stipend weekly, to talk to you. But here's the thing, like with me, if you're gonna do that with me, I demand authenticity, and I can see right away when someone's genuine or disingenuous, because if I start cutting someone off and they get angry that I'm like, oh, she cut me off, I'm gonna go with because they wanted to continue to get that money, honey. You know? So, and the other fear is, like, not to get too risque, and I don't know if I should put this under the NSFW series, but like, I don't know if I should say this. I'm gonna say it. And if I get judged for it, I don't mind, because this is life, and, you know, I don't know, like, I don't mind saying it. Like, for instance, there was one time, and couples do this, married couples do this, people that are dating do this. So, you know, if you're ever showering together, right? Let's say you are in a relationship or you happen to shower with a person for whatever reason, you know, my concern is, like, the guy's gonna go, oh, I feel fine, I don't sense anything, you know, and then I go, and then he's gonna gaslight me and say, I don't know, like, babe, I don't know why you're saying that the water's fine when it's not. Or we go out to eat and my food gets tampered with or his doesn't, or how am I going to go about that? Because for the past 6 months, I literally have been experiencing really strange stuff with my food and my water. Now you can play devil's advocate and go, oh, but Ashley, that's probably allergies. Allergies don't cause double vision, blurry vision. Allergies don't cause sudden paralyzing in your they are, you can go into anaphylactic shock and your airways can close up and you can feel like you're suffocating, like as if you have asthma. But getting rashes, because I have had rashes before. I have had edema, lymphedema in my legs because I think I was allergic to something in the water or something in the food. Like purposely, I think someone put something like an allergen in my food, because they'll do that. People are really, they're low life people. They will do that. And I'm not kidding. Like I felt like I had shards of glass, like yesterday or day before. Like I felt like I was being pierced in my chest. And and to explain that to someone, like, and that's the thing, I'm not really rebellious or defiant. I just want to have a normal life. You know, I'm endowed that. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It literally says it. Like we're owed that. So WTF. I mean, granted, you have to be careful regardless. If you're going to go and put yourself on a platform on Instagram or LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn's not used for dating, I don't think. One person reached out to me and he said he lived in Italy and he was a chiropractor. And he's like, oh, I saw your page, and I don't know. I was like, it's a little sus. But anyways, but that is my concern, is that, you know, so I'm going to be gaslit by someone, or I'll be in a car and I'll sense a weird gas. But then that's how I know that they're a perp and that they were probably sent my way to off me, possibly, which is scary because I don't know why I need to be offed. If you know why, let me know, because I don't know why. I don't know why I need to be offed by, you know, and when I say offed, I mean unalived. But not by touching, by weird gases and drugs and poison, whatever. Anyways, so how do you go about that? Is it worth going about it? Every targeted person, a gang stalk person, deserves to have a normal life. Point blank, period. They deserve to go to church if they want to go to a church. They deserve to, go to a baseball game if they want to go to a baseball game or a basketball game. If they want to learn ice skating, they should go ice skating. If they want to go to a dance class, go to a dance class. If you want to eat at a restaurant. And there was a point in my life where I was able to do all these things. And for some reason, now I'm scared. I'm scared to shake hands with people. I had an incident recently where I had a guy come over, like a few weeks ago. We were going to meet, and I realized this. I should have never done that, because I FaceTimed him, and then he said I invited him over, whatever, or we were going to hang out here because I don't have a car, and he lived like at a distance from me, like an hour away in the suburbs of Chicago. And I kid you not, after I hugged him, I think he had something on his jacket, and I could barely breathe. Like I was like, and then he darted out the door. He's like, and then he left me and says, you know what, I'm going to get going. For all I know, that could have been a hit on my life. Because I literally was caught, and I was like, and I was like, all I did was hug him. I don't know why anyone would do that to me. I have no clue. And I'm looking at my little St. Benedict dude over here, and he's the patron saint of poisoning and stuff. So yeah, there's a huge risk. But I want to live a normal life. I would love to get married someday to a really nice, loving man who where it won't be boring, I'm saying boring, because you end up, with the same person for the rest of your life, right? And you want to enjoy that. You don't want to be miserable for the rest of your life. You look at the divorce rate. How many people are getting divorced or they cheat on their spouse, or they do the open marriage thing because they want novelty and variety in their life, because they're not ready to commit to one person. They don't want to have sex with the same person for the rest of their life. But guess what, folks? That's what marriage is. That's what a commitment is between two people. And if you're not ready to do that, then don't freaking get married. Then date. Date until you meet that one person that you're like, hey, I like them. I could see myself tolerating them. And the other thing too is character. Like, you have to vet the person. you know? So for me, I am stubborn and rebellious, in a sense, because I want to have, you know, but that's not, like I said, it can go two ways. It can, you know, I can get the scoundrel people who can try to hurt me and then gaslight me about it, or I can get the guy who's going to go the extra mile. In the words of Hercules, go the distance. And Hercules became a Greek god, so, you know, I mean, it's a movie, whatever, but, like, you know, that's kind of the way that I see it. And because I'm going the distance, I'm being brave, I'm trying to be, you know, what I say, you know, fearless. I have that tattooed on my, I know it's a Taylor Swift album too, but that was one of my, I used to listen to that song a lot, because, anyways, so I'm doing that, and I'm a woman. So why a man can't do that, I have no clue. And men, I just say, are the superior sex. They, by default, they have the testosterone, they have the bronze, and, you know, to be able to do it. Women may have brains, but men have the bronze. You know, they could fight off the bad people. But me alone, like, I'm not trained in self-defense. I'm not trained in tactical warfare, whatever. I may be intelligent or intuitive and gifted with whatever, but we all have that intuition, you know, ingrained within us. But, you know, I told myself recently, after speaking with someone kind of at length over the phone, like on FaceTime, and it was very insightful for me, because you know, and then it kind of culminated, the conversation, I'll be honest, the conversation was really about, the whole thing was about what the guy wanted out of a connection. Like, it was literally, we ended up talking about our past experiences with other people, and I realized, if any conversation, the best times I've had good conversations with people was when they were asking me questions about, like, myself, and there was a good flow and a rapport about, hey, where did you grow up, or what did you love about where you grew up, or what are your plans for the future, like, you know, do you want to do XYZ in the future, you know, for a career, or are you close to your family? Tell me about your family, you know, tell me about you know, your pickleball community thing, or whatever, or your game night with your friends, you know, when you guys do board games or video games or whatever, stuff like that. Like, that to me is more relevant, because that gives me insight. And then once you keep talking more and more and more, you start to, you know, build, and you share more, and they show you that they could be there for you, right? Like, they're gonna be a source of, like, they're going to try to build a solid foundation with you by being consistent in communication, right? That's key. That's, like, I think, really important. So just putting that out there. But how do you, like, for me, my experience with trying to navigate targeting, and another thing is, people want to say, you know, is, oh, you shouldn't date until you get your things sorted out. Listen, I've done the healing. I've been through hell. I think I've walked into possible fentanyl laced rooms or cyanogen laced rooms, maybe just a little bit, and I've survived by the grace of God, and I don't know why that is, and it's scary to even say that. It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And I'm not a chemist, I'm not a scientist, so I can't prove that. I'm not going to bring a test kit downstairs to a basement, you know, and scan the air for air quality. I'm not going to do it. And to explain that to a man is daunting. Like, how am I going to say, hey, by the way, I went through this, and I feel like there's a target on my back, and I need protection. I would love to meet a man who can be like, I'll be that source of protection for you. And I would love to believe his words, but words need to be backed by action. And that only comes with time. So, for me, it is going to be difficult. It'll be a good, honestly, I hate the case study, funny enough. it'll be a good examination to, human behavior to see just how much people are going to be willing to say, hey, you know what? I don't really think I could do this because, I can't be that, I can't be that form of support for you. And I'm like, dude, but that's what a boyfriend, like, that's what a relationship, like, that's what you do. I get it that my situation is unique, right? Like, if a guy told me, hey, I went through this crazy situation and there was this girl and she stalked me and this and that, and I moved from place to place, and then some other stuff transpired after that, I would be empathetic. And now, granted, I've been through that, so I can really relate to it, but I wouldn't judge the guy. I would say, well, where are you at right now with that? Like, legally, did you get a restraining order? Did you consult a lawyer? And if he says, well, because like in my case, if they, someone would say, like, I didn't take pictures. I didn't have any pictures. It was really hard for me to, like, it was more digital and cyberbullying. It was physical, but there was also other elements that were involved. So it was hard for me to pinpoint it, because I can look discredited. It can look like so. But if it was reversed and a guy was telling me that, I'd go, okay, so where are you at right now with that? And how is it affecting your life? Like, do you feel safe enough to go out, And that's the thing that I was going to come to, is that for me, I want to socialize and I want to take those steps, those baby steps forward to try to integrate myself into society again. Am I worried about trafficking? Yeah, I am worried about trafficking. Because like I said, I've been in Ubers and I've been in Lyfts where I literally felt so nauseous and I felt like I was going to suffocate, and I wasn't having an anxiety attack. I felt, not even suffocate, I felt like I was fading, like I was going to fall asleep, and there was like some sedative in the car, and I would just open the window to let out the air, and I was like, this is creepy, So I do think there was an element of definitely of wrongdoing, and I can't do anything about that. Like, what am I going to do? Bottle up the air and be like, hey, police officers, this is and they're going to smell it and be like, what are they, But within that, I deserve, everyone does, not just me, everyone deserves to have companionship, and to meet someone who's going to support them through life, right? I would think. And not like in an obsessive, like I'm in limerence way, like I need somebody. No, just because it would be nice to have, and that and friends too, because I don't really have many friends. I don't know why. I mean, granted, all my friends, I think I've separated, moving around doesn't help, and people grow up, and I realize now I'm in that bracket of people that have like kids. Like, one of my former best friends from middle school into high school, she's married now. She has kids. Like, in my world, she was the person that was like still young, and she's, and these people it's just crazy, like how time flies by, and because I've been trying to survive this BS for 6 years, I forget that people live their lives, and they have no clue about this shit that I'm going through, the hell nightmare that I'm going through. They have no clue about the air leak things that I've suffered through, where I had such cold air that was piercing my skin that it burned my esophagus. They don't know about the urine that was thrown to the rental cars that I've had, or the rental car situations where I've been in cars where there's like a gas that I felt like was suffocating me and being emitted through the freaking vents. They don't know about the dates that I've been on. With one guy when I was in Vermont, I got in the car with him, and again, I felt like I was gonna like fucking suffocate. I don't know what was in the car. And then he was taking me to an Italian restaurant after. The Italian restaurant was fine. Thank God, praise God. But the ride over and then the ride back, I was like, I don't know what's up with this car situation. I mean, there's a point where I was afraid to go in Ubers because I thought I was going to get sedated. There's been points where I've been in hotels where I've woken up where I'm like, I feel so jet lagged. I'm like, what was I exposed to? That's really hard to explain to someone who's not going through it. but because I tell myself that I matter and I deserve to have companionship and friendships and socialize, that I shouldn't limit myself and make myself feel small because someone else doesn't like my light or doesn't like me, or they see it as a game. It's not funny. So, you know, if someone says, oh, did you go through therapy? Did you whatever? Yeah, I've done the therapy. And, you know, really, when I think about it, a therapist can only do so much. They can provide you with emotional support. They can reassure you and give you coping strategies and like social, you know, services or community resources. They can reference books for you. You know, books are really good to read. I will say that. Books are someone else's words, you know, permanently put on paper and or printed on paper. And support groups are good too. I think support groups, if they're legitimate and real and not like pretend groups or whatever, because, you know, who knows, in gang stalking world, there's perps everywhere, and they'll go and they'll find a way to integrate themselves into your support group or into your chat group or whatever, your friend group or run club or whatever. It is what it is. They will find, you know, they'll find a way to get in there. But I do tell myself, like, I deserve to have normalcy in my life. Same for Bonnie. Bonnie deserves that. Bonnie looks so tired right now. She's knocked out. I deserve that. I didn't do anything wrong, you know. I'm not a political dissident. I'm not an anarchist. I'm very pro-government. There's a lot of speculation that's thrown around in the gang stalking community about Freemasonry, about this and that. And I'm like, I can't, if I don't know it, if I'm not I can't speak to that. But I will say, if anyone that's affiliated with those groups comes after me, then that is a crime, and they should be held accountable. Now, will they do that? I don't know, because I think within those groups, you have lawyers, you have judges, you have police officers. And they will probably, for all intents and purposes, protect one another. You know, but anyways, besides that, I do tell myself, I deserve happiness. I deserve peace. I deserve freedom. I deserve to have a loving relationship with someone that, yeah, I may always be under surveillance or scrutiny or whatever. And I even did a background check recently because I was going to be moving into in the same building, moving into, you know, it's for a short-term, you know, stay. And I'm praying to God that everything goes well with that, because the past few months have been hell, you know. You know, and it's hard too, because when you meet people, like even in a building, you know, a neighbor, a landlord, and they're smiling at you, and they try to seem like they have the best intentions for you, but then, you know, you really wonder, do they have the best intentions? Because I'm going through all this stuff, and they go, why do I feel like they know about it, but then they don't fix it? I don't know. And you're promised as a tenant, you know, to be safe. Safety is huge. So why is it that my water gets messed with and then I get gaslit about it? It is what it is. You know, people, I feel blessed that I'm still alive and I'm still here. But going back to the dating thing, a piece of, you know, it was key insight that came to me, and I go, how am I going to go about this? You know, how am I going to navigate this experience? Because I do feel like there's a group of people that want my head on a platter, you know, that want me gone. Either that, or it's a really lethal, you know, case study. Or, you know, I hope not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I'm not going to give up on believing that I can have a normal life. You know, and I forget that people go out, they go to movies, they get popcorn, they get soda, or they go to, you know, on the boat with their friends for the weekend, or the beach, you know, or or they go on a date. Eventually people, yeah, you do go on a date and you go for dinner or you have a glass of wine. Fortunately, I will say I have been on some dates where I didn't get drugged or anything like that. Thank God, like in Virginia. Thank God. Like, I went to an Argentinian restaurant, that was okay. I went to, where else did I go to? I got gelato with one guy in Philadelphia and coffee, that was okay. I went to get Dunkin' Donuts with the same guy who we went to the shelter dog date, which was really nice. It was a cute little pit bull. We were actually playing with a cute little pit bull. It was a puppy pit bull, but it was still cute. It was a lot of fun. And where else? The date that I said with the guy in Vermont, I've been on that. I went to a Chinese buffet date. That was fun. It was very simple, but like for me, I love Chinese food. So like, I was like, yeah. I was like, fried rice. I don't know if I was more I don't know if I'm more excited to eat the Chinese food at the buffet and get the fortune cookies and the sauce, or to meet the guy. I don't know. I love, anyways. And the spring rolls were really good too. The vegetable spring rolls. And they had a little ice cream bar. Oh my God. You can tell that I'm hungry, right? It's good that I'm probably, because then I don't want to be too gluttonous, like too self-indulgent, especially when you go on a date, because then it's like, man, this girl eats, but I do love food. That's why I know I'm not anorexic, because I love food. It's just, I'm traumatized from that weird experience of the, with the thing with the soda and whatnot that I had in Indiana. Anyways, but I do feel that, like, so I don't know why it got worse as I migrated more west, because when I was more east, I didn't have this shit happening too much. So I'm like, I don't understand why. I don't know what changed. Because I'm a nice person. I treat people with respect and kindness. I don't, I said it before, in the words of Tim McGraw, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. I don't do that. I try not to be too flirtatious with men. I don't want to give them mixed signals or like tell them something just to, like there's some people, women who are so manipulative, or men too, who will tell someone what they want to hear so that they can get their way from them. I don't do that. Like, I will tell you straight out. I will speak from my heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Maybe not this shoulder, but this one, because this one's in pain sometimes. But I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I have no problem telling the truth. I am very truthful. Truthful. But yeah, I go, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to navigate this experience? Like, because I have been to places, like, with my parents where, like, and I don't know if it was my food specifically and their food was okay, but, like, I went out, like, it was on Easter, and I had this really good steak, and I asked my dad, can I have this steak? It was like $40, and, but then I had it, and I felt, I started to feel like I was sinking, and then my heart rate, like, it was weird. I felt really, really weird. It was scary. I thought I was drugged or poisoned. I'm like, but why would the dudes in the kitchen, and it was an open kitchen, like, I watched the dudes, but I'm like, why would they do that? Or why would someone try to put me in a scary situation? And that was with family. So I'm like, imagine that's my family. How do I do that with a guy that I don't know? I don't know. If you guys know, let me know. And if you want to say, Ashley, listen, you should wait until everything, dies down, and like and maybe the food thing gets better. And I'm like, listen, I've been waiting okay, I'll put it this way. When I moved to Philadelphia, that was back in 2022, because I left Miami in 2022 and I moved to Philadelphia. When I got there, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, it's a city. I'm like, maybe it's like New York, maybe, but I don't know. And then, I was full of hope that I was going to have a fresh start. But then there was weird stuff happening there too. But I told myself, I was like, I want to socialize. I want to meet people. And so I did go on the dating apps, and I went on a few dates, and the food was normal then. I had ice cream with one guy. That wasn't bad. Not to say I don't know if we had any chemistry, but he was very sweet though. He gave me his jacket. Maybe he was just like an off day, but he was very sweet. At least to me, I think I thought he was. And he was cute too. He was cute. He was just quiet. He was very reserved, and I was like, maybe I'm too talkative. Anyways, going back to what I was saying. But I told myself, I was like, I was still going through the targeting and the hacking thing, but I told myself, and I didn't want to date either before, because I was like, I don't want to put the person that I'm talking to at harm's way. That was my first initial reason why I was like, I don't want to do dating, because I don't want the person to get gang stalked or targeted too, and their phone hacked and bothered and having the cars go around them. So I was like, I'm not going to date until everything smooths over and I get answers. It's 6 years later, folks. I have not gotten any answers. And I do card readings and stuff, and it keeps saying, oh, a message was supposed to come to me. So, you know, I tell myself, do I just wait for life to happen, or do you start creating your life? And how do you create the life you want when people are trying to put you in unsafe circumstances or situations? Like, do I have to worry now? Like, if I want to cuddle with someone, because I call these are my cuddle clothes. These are my, well, they're pajamas, but, you know, the bottom part is a little, like it should. I got these, like, I forgot when I got these. They're like little shorts. They're little, it goes like this. They're actually like, it's more like that. But I call them, they're my cuddle clothes, my cuddle PJs. And I tell myself, how am I going to do this, you know, because what if he's like a bad guy or whatever? I don't know what's going on. What if he has something on his shirt? What if I shake his hand? What if he has, you know, what if I try to kiss him and he has poison on his lips? I'm not kidding. My mind goes there, which sounds crazy. I promise I don't watch crime shows and stuff. You know, I don't watch, you know, NCIS Law and whatever, this SVU, whatever, Special Victims Unit. And I've watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Andy Samberg and Melissa Fumero, which I think is hilarious, by the way. And what's the guy's name? John Tartulio or whatever. And this other girl, Christine Peretti, I think her name is. She was hilarious. But, you know, my mind goes there. And if that's a thought that comes up, that's because maybe my conscious or, you know, God is like, or whatever, is saying, be careful, you know. Because there are, irrespective of targeting and stuff, there's guys that are snakes. And you know, like when I was a server in Miami, I'll never forget it. There was a guy, he had 2 cell phones. And I have 2 cell phones only because my parents, this is on my parents' contract. It looks so cute. I never realized how cute the color looks from here. It's cute. Anyways, this is on my parents' contract, and I have my phone where I was like, I want to be my own person and be a big girl and get off my parents' contract, so I got my own phone through Visible, which, by the way, Visible is a wonderful phone service. I don't get paid to say that, but it really is. Visible has been, you know, I had T-Mobile, I had Verizon, and then AT&T was with my parents' thing, and yeah. Like, Visible, the customer service is excellent. The reception and actual signal is awesome. It's so easy to use. I'm doing like a PSA for the cell phone service. But, yeah, so anyways, there are guys who are, that's what I'm saying. This guy, when I worked in Miami, when I was a waitress, he used to bring, it was every week. It was a different girl. And I remember once he was on Tinder, because he was at the bar and he had a flip phone and then he had an iPhone, and so he would scroll through one, and then we eventually saw him like on TV. He got arrested for something, for like sexually like something sexual harassment or something, which was interesting. My boss saw him he was at the gym and he saw him on the TV and he's like, oh, this is the guy. My boss was, one of my managers was Albanian, and he's like, this is the guy. This is the dating guy. And one of the girls, oh my God, one of the girls gave me a look like that he brought on a date, and she was like, you know, she was scared. And then I was like, girl, and then I think he like she darted and she left. She like called a friend, but I gave her the look, like, you know. So anyways, because there's guys that are just creepy irrespective of gang stalking. So but my thing is, I go, how am I going to go about this? Because after having, like, at length a long ass conversation with someone recently he seemed very, 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 very keen. Now, it could have been just a bunch of bull crap. He could have just been pulling my leg, and he could have been a perp. For all I know, he could have been a perp or a honeypot or whatever. But I I tell myself, just use discernment, feel it out. I'm also a card reader, so that doesn't help. So I can, energy doesn't lie, people do. So that's kind of, the good part about it. It's good and bad, because then when I pull cards, I'm like, I don't want to know the truth. I was like, please don't do it. I'm like, God, don't do it to me. I like just talking to the people. Please don't do it. So, but if anyone ever pressures you, that's a red flag, by the way. If anyone ever pushes you or pressures you, too much, and they don't respect your boundaries, irrespective of targeting, that's a huge red flag. Just plain and simple, especially as a woman. And if I say, hey, I've been through a lot of stuff and it's going to take me time to kind of just, I'm dipping my toes in the water, right? And I'm going about it differently, because I don't mind disclosing that when I was dating before, I was very loose and porous in my boundaries. And I mean, I use that interchangeably, those two terms, loose and porous, meaning that because when you think of something like a sponge, it has a lot of holes, right? So the water soaks through. But if you have something with no holes, like a pebble, those are more stringent, like strict boundaries. You need to be like a coral, like not like Finding Nemo coral, but like, in the anemone, let water just, fall around you and you float in the anemone. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I just thought about it. Or a pebble. You can be like a pebble, because a pebble sits in a river and the water flows over it. Anyways, whatever. My analogies sound kind of stupid now I think of it. But my point is that, and I told this to one guy recently I was talking to, and I said, not to be rude, but like, I'm looking for the guy who's going to be willing to say, I know you've been through a lot, and it's going to take time for you to fully, open, like, trust me, but I want to get to know you and be that person for you, and be a friend and form of support for you. And I like a guy that's going to say, I'm willing to take that risk, because that's what I would do. If I met a nice man who said, hey, I've been through some stuff and this, and I'm kind of nervous about it. It'll be a weird story if he was like, yeah, my drink got spiked, and, I've been experiencing this strange stuff, and then it never went away. I would be kind of concerned, and I would say, well, what are you doing about it legally, or is there anything that you can do? And if he says, well, I didn't have enough evidence, and, whatever, I'd be like, well, let's see how it goes, and we'll talk, and I'll get to know you, and then, we'll go from there, and we'll take it day by day. That's what, to me, and that's what anyone should do anyways. And for me, what I was doing before, not to say I was a loosey-goosey, but I was, how do I explain this without sounding like a puta? I found this newfound excitement for intimacy, because I wasn't ever intimate until 32, and I'm 34. So, with that came this almost childlike innocence and wonder, like, oh my God. And I don't mind saying it. If this helps another girl and you're in college and you're in high school and you're like, I'm nervous and this and that. Being naked is so vulnerable, right? When I was growing up, I was the kind of girl who I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I would put my towel on and I would dart into the bathroom, because I was like, I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to look at my tetas. I don't want to look at anything, because I thought being naked was like a bad thing. Because in school growing up, I equated nakedness with sex, and in Catholic religion, they said premarital sex is bad and master, all that stuff. So I was like, I am not going to even think about any of that. So I covered myself, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So my bathroom growing up, it was like we had the sink in one thing with one door, and then we had the bathroom with toilet like in another that you can close. And so I just didn't, nakedness, bare skin, bikinis. I never even wore a bikini out. I never wore a bikini. I knew there were so many people that I worked with as servers that they'd be like, Ashley, let's go to the beach or this. And I'd be like, and it's funny because now I'm like, I would love to go to the beach, right? As now, I don't know why, after being out of Miami, I'm like, I want to go and sit in the sun and do yoga and read on the beach and feel the toes, my toes in the sand, and feel see the little seashells and little starfishes and shit, you know. Go figure how things change. But I never worn a bikini, high heels. I didn't dress seductively ever. I never show cleavage. I am like a little lady, you know? So the sexual thing was like a whole new world. You could segue into Aladdin with that. But literally, like, it was a whole new world. And you know, some women are so good. Like, you know who's a good example of, like, she's sassy as fuck. It would be crazy if, like, her recording artist persona is different from her actual persona, like her personality. But like Megan Thee Stallion, if you listen to some of her music, you're like, damn, she said that, like, oh god, you know. But when you listen to her, it was like, that woman commands attention. She knows she knows her curves, you know. Same thing with Rihanna, same thing with Beyonce, same thing even Taylor Swift, you know. Like, they own them, and that probably takes time, you know, that progression of self-love, and not in a like I adore myself type of way, but like a, you know, there's a moment, I think, where every woman develops the maturity of, like, the inner goddess, the divine feminine, you know, essence. And you know, I didn't have that. I didn't feel like a Victoria's Secrets model. I felt very awkward. To this day, I still feel awkward. Even if I do my hair and I put makeup on, there's still, like, I'll be out in public and I'm like, I don't hold a candle to some women are so confident in themselves and so demonstrative. And for me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm shy in some ways, you know, until I get to know someone. But for me, it was, you know, sex and all that it was so new, you know, and I equated nakedness with sin, which is not right, because being naked is totally, it's not to say I'm going to join a nudist colony, but, you know, we all have to learn how to have body positivity. And doesn't mean you go out, you know, and put a bunch of new pictures online. I don't mean that, like, on Instagram, you know. But what I mean is, like, that's part of loving yourself, you know. And there's a point I was going to make to this. Oh, that was going to say that before I was very loose and porous with my morals, my boundaries, and I just wanted to, if a guy showed me attention and we matched on the app, I was like, and please, I know people are going to go, you were very naive and you shouldn't have done that, especially if you're going through your situation and you're inviting people to your apartment. It was a very different thing in Vermont, and even in Philadelphia. I felt much safer in those areas than I do here, and I don't know why. But I matched with people, and I was a lot more lenient. And I think, and we would talk on the app, and we would talk maybe once, we would do a FaceTime, or we talk on the phone, and then I thought that was enough for me. And I realized that's not enough. You have to talk more. Unless you're just doing the casual thing. But, you know, I take it back. Even if you're going to do casual stuff, like casual sex or whatever, you still need to vet that person. Because the thing is, you're going to share space with them. You're going to share your body. Sexual health is important, so you want to practice safe sex and be responsible. And sorry if I sound like a teacher right now, like, oh, you need to space for me. It's the truth, though, because, you know, from a global health, or, you know, a public health standpoint, you know, HIV isn't like, you know how opioid use is an epidemic, HIV transmission is an epidemic. You know, unprotected sex can lead to, and this is where I'll be honest, like, I again had loose boundaries, because some guys would say, but I don't want to use protection. I don't want to do that, or I don't want, and then at the first I wanted to, and this is where being nice and being too nice and being too kind could get you in caca, caca land, in shitsville. And I was the type of person where I was like, oh, but I want to make the guy happy and I don't want to upset him, so I'm going to say, yeah, let's do it without protection. No. Because at the end of the day, you don't know who, until you're in a relationship with that person and you know their sexual history and their health, that's still, the male genitalia and female genitalia from a healthcare standpoint, there's a lot of bacteria on our bodies in those areas, sweat, moisture, so you have to be very careful. I know the amusement and the excitement with sex is like, I'm not trying to be like a PSA for safe sex, but it's the truth. Maybe someone needs to hear this, maybe there's people out there who are just, hooking up left and right, and I get it, trust me, sex was, I get it. I get the hype of why people, and from a targeted person's perspective, it was very comforting being in the arms of somebody. I felt very safe. It was nice having people over, to be there for me. I mean, they didn't stay long, and the sad part is, and this is another thing that I learned that I regret, is that when you give it up too easily, the mystery's gone. And then you start to become the side conquest, or you start to fall to the wayside and you get breadcrumbed because they got what they wanted. A real man is going to be okay with waiting for that. The gentleman, he's not going to push you. He's not going to, and the same thing, if you're a guy listening to this, a woman shouldn't be pushing you either. Because that's kind of like borderline grooming, like sexual grooming. Not trafficking, grooming, like meaning trying to groom someone to, and it falls into that school of thought with that. So you have to be careful with that. Be mindful of that, because you don't ever want to be accused of, grooming people. Knock on wood. So, and I was doing that. I was, I talked to them once. Oh yeah, you can come over. This is my address, and I'd cook for a guy, and it was fun. I enjoyed cooking and all that and being intimate. But at the same time, number one, you develop a reputation of being like a whore. You're like, oh, that's the easy girl. She puts out, you never want to do that. And that was never my intention. I never, ever, 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 ever wanted it to, I never, ever wanted a one night stand with anybody. I don't do that. I'm not looking for that, and neither, hopefully, it happens. Sometimes it just happens, and you click with someone, and you're like, whatever, but we're more than that. We're worth more than that as humans. We owe it to ourselves to build strong, stable foundations with relationships. Now, if it's friends with benefits, I know there's the movie with Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. I haven't watched it in its entirety. There's another movie with Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman, No Strings Attached, I think is what it is. And that, again, I haven't seen that one either. But I think I did a video on that. Friends with benefits can it work? I don't know. I'll be honest. I think for me it's hard because it's. So what I'm going about it now is, for me, I'm like, I want to develop a friendship with someone first. And if a guy says, but I don't want to be your friend, I'll go, but yeah, I get it. There's connection there. Like, there's definitely attraction, right? We matched because we like each other. We're physically attracted to each other. But I also want to lay a groundwork to see what kind of person are you going to be in my life. Or because when you marry someone, right? When you date someone, if you're dating for marriage, you're kind of trialing out to see, if I was sick, are they going to go, it'd be like, oh, get better, whatever, or are they going to say, hey, can I come over and I don't want to have sex with you, I just want to sit with you to read you a book, or like just sit next to you and rub your belly, or give you a massage, or kiss your forehead. I don't know, little subtle things like that to show that they care. That I think is more meaningful. And again, that comes with time, right? And I want people to understand, men are very physical creatures by nature. Women are more emotional. So a guy may think that, he may say, but if we've had sex and stuff, then that means we're exclusive, we're whatever. Whereas a girl, it's like you want the talking and you want to get to know someone, in the traditional sense. So for me, I am going about it differently, and I think my logic is if a guy doesn't want to do that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be it'll be difficult, because there's going to be people out there who are going to say, you know, that's too much for me to handle. I can't, poison, mercury, but then there's going to be the other people who are going to be the perps. I recognize this, who are going to gaslight me and say, there's nothing wrong with your shower, your food is fine. I know that they'll one day meet a guy who's going to say, I believe you, and I'm sorry you went through that. I will never do anything to hurt you. And it'll take time for me to prove that to you. I can't just tell you on a first thing. It's going to take time for me to prove it to you. And I'm going to do that through my actions. But then he runs the risk of getting his food getting poisoned, and that's why I didn't want to date someone that has kids, because, unless he's like unless he's like SWAT, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I don't know. But even so, SWAT people can get hurt. Not that I would date someone that's a SWAT person, but anyways, but that's a little bit of insight, and just kind of chronicling my experience and sharing my own, and like almost like not a video diary, but I'm just doing it as a way to help other people that are targeted kind of give hope. Because if you're like, how the F am I gonna, like, why would I want to socialize? Why wouldn't you want to? So you have to stop living your life. You have to adjust. I thought about this before. I'm like, I have to adjust my life for people that want to superimpose their will on me. I have to dumb myself down or make myself smaller because some group of maniacal gang stalker perp people want to come and disrupt my chi and my life. And I mean chi, like, Tai Chi, like prana, like energy. Want to disrupt my groove and my flow. That's not fair. I should be able to live my life. And I had a normal life before all this. I was going to restaurants. I was eating pasta. I was, buying groceries like normal. And I can't buy groceries like normal anyways, because I don't have any money to do so. I'm like dirt ass poor. And that's another thing. If people go, oh, you're dating because you want to meet a guy with lots of money. Bro, if anyone went through like half the people, I swipe yes on like super blue collar people. Like plumbers. Like, I don't care, bro. Like, as long as a dude is trying and he's handsome, like, he takes care of himself. He's not like, with like armpit hair hanging out, like presentable, but trying. I don't care. I don't need a man to be super freaking rich. And a lot of times those guys that are rich are arrogant as shit. They think they're God's gift, and they think they're like, I don't need that shit. I don't need the guy that's big-headed and has a big ego and has a huge following with the social media. I don't give a shit. I care about integrity. I care about your heart. I don't care what you have on paper. Granted, I don't know how to explain it. For me, and that's a discussion too. I go, how am I going to explain that to a guy? And be like, but then they'll be like, well, why are you in an apartment? You're in a building, so you have housing. And I'll go, yeah, my family's helping me with that. I'm kind of in a icky, sticky situation right now, but I'm very faithful. I have my faith in God. I have faith in myself, and I know that I will overcome this, and I will figure it out as best as I can. With faith, trust, and pixie dust. That's from Peter. That's from, is it Peter Pan, or is it, I don't know. That's the Tinkerbell thing. But I trust that the universe or myself will guide me towards the right person, and I'll get to weed out the ones that are not genuine. That's what I'm hoping for, is that I will have enough emotional maturity and discernment to know who's worth holding on to and keeping around in my life, and who's worth letting go of. And BTW, it's not a sin to talk to multiple people at the same time on an app. There's a reason for that, because some people, they work a lot, so they don't even check the app, or some people aren't as interested in dating, or some people don't even write at all. They match with you and then they go ghost on you, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, we had a conversation and now you're like, you flew the coop. You know, so it's going to be hard. And if you're targeted and you're like me and you're like, well, I can't even focus on dating right now because I'm trying to survive, it'll get better. And I say that because you have to dig your heels in, and and what I tell myself is, yeah, it's scary and I don't want to cry about it, but it is scary. I sometimes wear a mask in my own building. I go downstairs and I walk outside and they have a little, not a karaoke bar, but they have like this lounge. It's called the Zebra Lounge. And it's super popular. There's always people there. And part of me gets, I don't get jealous, but part of me gets a twinge of, FOMO, fear of missing out. And I've been so tempted sometimes to just walk in by myself and like sit there and just listen to people sing just for fun, just to be part of the camaraderie. And but people are carrying on their lives. They're living their lives. And meanwhile, target individuals, we have to live this hell every day. Unexplainable aches and pains, hacking, cyberbullying, weird people around you on the street making weird comments like that are situational or relative to your life. Strategically placed things around you on the floor, like certain debris on the floor, or the honeypot thing, but I don't call it that, So it's not easy. But I remind myself that I'm good and I'm kind. I'm not like those people. And I deserve to have a normal life, and so should you. People are shitty. Half of society is unawakened. Majority of society, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes on my phone a lot. I don't read. I've neglected my gratitude journal a little bit. I've been meaning to do my gratitude journal. I usually write 3 things down that I'm grateful for each day at nighttime. So I foster a positive mindset and a growth mindset for the following day. And I slack on that a little bit. And trust me, this is coming from, I'm scared to wash my clothes. I'm scared to go downstairs and wash my clothes because I'm like, is there going to be some scary gas in the laundry room? Am I going to get sedated down there or in the elevator? Like, I don't say deathly afraid. I'm afraid to go in an elevator because I've been in elevators before at older buildings and there was like sulfur gas. I'm not kidding. It reeked of sulfur. I went in Virginia in one of the elevators and I go, how do they do this? Or is it just a coincidence? It's scary. What I tell myself is I say, I can do hard things. I saw that somewhere, I don't know if it was on a magnet or a greeting card, probably in the Francesca's store because they have a lot of cute inspirational stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to francescas.com. They have them in the malls and whatever, and they have a brand called Natural Life from Jacksonville, Florida. And they do like a mental health, anti-anxiety initiative. But I tell myself I can do hard things. It's scary because like I said, I've had packages delivered to me where I touch them, I open them, my hand goes numb where I open the package or my hand gets red. One time recently, my whole arm felt numb and it was stinging and I'm like, great, awesome. A+. I get scared about Bonnie's food, that her food can be poisoned. It's not fair to live in that state of hypervigilance. And that, I will say, that does take therapy. But the thing is, a therapist can't legally, like the legalities and the situations, the safety part, she can't or he can't negotiate that, So I'm just being mindful of what I touch, being mindful of what I eat. Doorknobs, door handles, things like that. And, I try to, if I say to myself, okay, be careful when you walk through this door or you go to this mail room or something, just hold your breath or whatever, in stairwells and stuff. So I do what I can. And I'm going to pray to God, I would help someone. If I met a guy and he told me he was going through that, I'd empathize with him. Probably like the therapist part of me would come out and I'd be like, let me empathize for you. And be like, let's discuss this together, from a psychological perspective. But I would empathize and I'd say, well, you know what? In my mind, I would assess it and I go, does he have good character? Does it seem like his words and actions align? Are his interests aligned with yours? Are his values the same as yours? Is he big on his family, like being family oriented? Is he goal oriented, but not so ambitious that like he would neglect family or other priorities? Is he a player? Like, is he Mr. Papi Chulo and he goes with every single, lady friend that or what is he like? And then that's how I'd go about it. And then I trust in the universe that if that's the right soul partnership for me, then I look at it like collaboration. I look at it like co-creation. You collaborate to co-create. That's good. I'm gonna write that down. You collaborate to co-create. And what do I mean by co-create? Right? I don't mean in business. I mean creating a safe space for one another to be each other's solidarity and sounding board and support. So, collaborate to co-create. I should trademark that. Collaborate to co-create. I love when I make up stuff that's like collaborate to co-create. I love alliteration. I love the English language because I have a pretty strong vernacular. I was an English major for like 1 or 2 semesters at FIU, and then I decided to do sociology because I loved the study of groups and anthropology and culture. Anyways, I got sidetracked. So that's how I see it. Now, how am I going to explain, let's say near homelessness, but how do I explain, being destitute? I don't know. And I'm not being naive. I feel like I'm rich in spirit. I feel like I'm insanely lucky. I will say that. But when you have that drive and that ambition, because before all this bullshit, I saw what my life was like. I was on the right trajectory. And everything was stacking up. And it's almost like someone hexed me or cursed me, I'll be honest, because it's just weird. It's like my luck switched. But I'm still hopeful, I don't give up. And not everyone is evil. There was actually someone who commented on my thing, and he wrote like, not everyone is out to, I don't know, he or she wrote, not everyone is out to get you. But because when you get so brutally betrayed, you automatically default to the negative, and you're like, nope, that's a Judas Iscariot, Who betrayed Jesus? It was Simon, Peter, Paul? It was Peter. And it was Peter denied him 3 times. Judas was the one, So, and that's what I'm saying. If they crucified a perfectly good man, think about it. I'm not Jesus. I'm just saying, But yeah. So I have full faith in myself that I know that there are good people out there. There are good guys who would never dare hurt me physically, like lay their hands on me, or get a bad temper, or have a short fuse, or try to frame me or anything like that, because I'm a woman and I would never do that. So if a guy says, I can't do this is too much, and I don't want to be your therapist, and I would say, well, I never told you or expected you to be that. I want you to be a friend. And a friend shows up. That's a good test to see that is who's the real, and that's, forget about targeting folks. That should be for everyone. See how they can be as your friend first. That's not to say but then you go, but Ashley, but then what if he goes off and he dates someone else, and then I get breadcrumbed? Well, you say, you lay the groundwork, right? You say, hey, I like you. I'm attracted to you. I think you're cute, whatever, right? but I also, it's like what's like called a slow burn romance. Like you build up that foundation, because if you don't have a solid foundation to go off of, forget about it. Because there's a song, I know I mentioned her songs a lot just because I was a big Swiftie girl. I haven't listened to her new albums and stuff, but I was a pretty big Swiftie for several years, and there was a song, it was called Red, and then my mom also, I remember she told me it was something that kind of corresponded to the lyrics, but my mom used to say things end the way they start out. You know, if it's hot and heavy and fast in the beginning, then it will most likely fizzle out the same way. I hate to tell you. When you rush into something, it'll fizzle out, because then the mystery's gone. You don't get to, you know, that's it. So, versus when something is slowly being cultivated, right? And that's going to be uncomfortable, especially even for me, because I'm the type of person, I do like, I don't know, that's bad, I shouldn't say that, I sound kind of whorish. I do like physical touch, I do like intimacy, I like lingerie. After being someone who didn't do any of that stuff for so many years, I like it. I like feeling sexy and confident. And it's nice when you see other women. Like just a second ago, I was doing a survey on my phone. Shout out to Survey Spin. If you don't know what Survey Spin is, go download it right now. I did 2 PSAs. I did a PSA for Visible, and I did a PSA for Survey Spin, and I do not get paid for to say that, but I do like little surveys or whatever, and I've been able to pay for like a bill or 2 and for groceries. But anyways, in the survey, it was for American Eagle, and they were talking, they're like, what do you think of the campaign for Sydney Sweeney? And I was like, this girl's gorgeous, bro, like fucking beautiful. And I'm straight, I'm just saying, like, she's beautiful. And I was like, you can tell she just owns her shit, you know? I mean, it was a very seductive, like, aesthetic, because she was like, I can't do it. She was just very, like, giving very, not Marilyn Monroe vibes, but like, because she has the blonde hair or whatever, but very like, and not a Medusa, like I'm seduced, like just she knows, you know, like her sexiness and her worth. And there was a point I was going to make to this. What was the point I was going to make to this? There was a point with sexiness and seductiveness. I mentioned, I can't remember what it was. It'll come back to me because it was relevant. It was very important. Maybe about using your womanly essence. Maybe attractiveness. Is that what I was talking about? There was a reason why I was mentioning this. I don't know. Anyways, well, she carries that very well. Oh, I put that in the survey. I was like, she exudes confidence and radiates this like self-assuredness with a sex appeal, right? And that's what was very appealing about the ad. So, you know, and I think I was saying in terms of physical attraction with someone, you know, that is, I can't remember, there was a thought and it was such a good connection of what I was gonna, whatever, but anyways, it'll come to me. But my point is that when it comes to cultivating those connections with someone, building upon that, I think when there's a solid foundation first is like key. And being friends with someone, yeah, it sounds boring. And that's what I was gonna say. Like I'm someone who, I enjoy intimacy, right? And I communicate well with that. I know that sounds bad, but it's the truth. And maybe you're not like me. Maybe you're like, I'm not that interested in sex. I don't care. I don't want to do that. Like, I just, you know, there's people I'm sure that will say, oh, she's a whore and she's, you know, no, not to say, I'm not in public. I'm not touchy-feely like that, but I'm in closed doors. I don't mind expressing myself with someone if I like them, if that makes sense. So, but at the same time, you want to, if you're looking for that long-term thing, right? Yeah, you can create sexual chemistry and do flirtatious stuff and sexting and stuff, but also be mindful too with the sexting, because that, when I'm sorry, I have pimples on my face, that also can be kind of, if you give it away too fast and you do it too much, then you're not, I think that there needs to be, it's just pacing someone, pacing yourself, I think, is key. And if people don't want to do that, you have to be ready for rejection. You have to be ready for people to go, oh, deuces, I don't like her anymore. Because you're not going to be the girl that puts out quickly. And that's not the person you want. You want the guy who's going to say, I respect your soul. I respect you. I respect your morals and your laurels and your character. And I like you not just your body or whatever, but for your brains and your heart. Have I met a guy like that yet? Not really. And then to throw in on top the whole weird drugging BS crap, unless they're SWAT. I make myself giggle sometimes. Not that SWAT, I don't know if SWAT's the same as police officers. I don't know how that works. Because, and I say that, the SWAT thing, because that's their world. Like, not to criminality, but like that's their norm, is dealing with like heavy stuff like that. A regular guy that's like an accountant, and he's like, with his little tie, and he's like, or a guy that's an artist, or a barista, he's going to be like, you're going through what? You're doing, no, I don't want to. And yes, I would date a barista. I don't care. If he's 20, well, not say 25, but, if it's a guy that's like an artist and he does graphic design or maybe woodwork and different jobs, I'm not going to, that's why I say I don't go after, I'm not dating to find a man to fund my life. I date because I want to meet a partner, like a friend. And if we both live in a shanty town, in a car, then that's what we do. I'm not kidding. If I met a guy and he's like, I have an RV, or, I couldn't afford an RV. But if he's like, I live, not a tent, but if he's like, I have a camper van, and I'd be like, okay, let's do it. I don't know, but we'll see. Why not? We'll figure it out, and then we get a house down the line. I don't know where Bonnie's going to fit in a camper van, but anyways, that's been my experience recently with dating. And if you say you're dating, that's kind of crazy. Like, I know I'm turning this whole targeted individual thing on its head, but I really don't take no for an answer. Like, I'm not no for an answer. I can't believe it happens. I really can't. It's so stupid. It's stupid for the fact that I have water that's tampered with. It's stupid that the fact that I get scared to order food takeout because I'm not sure if the Uber Eats driver is gonna freaking put cyanide in my fucking pizza, or thallium. Thallium causes your hair to fall out. Thallium makes your muscles super weak and paralyzes you. Mercury causes hearing loss. So, fun times. So, and you do the best you can, but I want to live a normal life. So I have to adjust my life and make myself smaller so a group of bullies can be happy? It's not fair. I can't go to a store and like, I haven't bought cookies. I know cookies aren't great for you. I know they have sugar, whatever, but I used to love getting cookies as a kid, like growing up, because that's what my Nana used to do every Friday night. She used to have a box of cookies waiting for me from Publix. And Publix had really good chocolate chip cookies. Oh my God. I used to go, and I loved getting chocolate and wine. Like, that was because when you pair white chocolate or regular chocolate or dark chocolate, oh my God. Like Ghirardelli, oh my God. I haven't had chocolate chip pancakes in forever. That was my thing. Original Pancake House with the little chocolate morsels with un poquito de whipped cream on top. Forget about it. So I tell myself, how am I going to do this? Because dating, this is my last point I was make. I'll say final. I hate, there's certain words that are trigger words for me, like final, last, this, because I think of like, oh, my last words. Like, I don't want to say that, but what I'm going to leave it with is I have told myself, how am I going to do this? You know, how am I going to navigate this situation? Because if I'm right about everything that I've surmised over the past several months about being drugged and poisoned and harassed and bullied and cyberbullied and stalked and hacked, that's a lot of weight to bear, especially on a man's shoulders, and especially if that man's a father. Because that means that he would have to choose, you know, possibly living a life like I've been living for the past 6 years and risk his well-being and his safety. And that makes me want to cry because I don't want that to happen to anybody. But I want companionship, and not in a desperate sense, but like a normal thing. I want to live a normal life. Like when I did go out yesterday, or was the day before, and I forgot it was a Friday, mind you. It was yesterday, and I went to the grocery store just to get a few things, and I hadn't been out all day. And you know, I see the Uber cars coming up and the big SUVs picking up people, and people are out and about, and I'm sitting here like just trying to be confident enough to go to the grocery store. Basic thing, basic errand that everyone does. And there's, you know, people out and about, you know, some people drunk, but you know, they're on the street corner, or they're on, you know, there's a line for the bar, and I'm like, man, I forget that people go out, you know, and I'm sitting here like scared to step outside my door. Because when you get so betrayed, you don't want to do anything, you know, you want to stay indoors, you want to isolate yourself, and that's not healthy. So I tell myself, I psych myself, and I go, Ashley, I'm like, you're a Ninja Turtle. I'm not a Ninja Turtle, but if you don't know, I'm talking about the Mighty Ninja Turtles. You don't know what I'm talking about, but I tell myself, you can do hard things. And people may laugh at you, they may not understand you, and what I'm reminded is there's that quote by Dr. Seuss that said, you know, those who matter, and I'm sorry, I'm doodling on my thing. I go, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Meaning, like, those who mind your business don't matter. The people who don't mind your business and they support you and love you, they're not going to try to gaslight you to convince you that what's happening to you didn't happen, or, you know, they're not going to trick you to trap you, you know, somewhere that could compromise your safety or injure you, you know. So it's hard. It's not easy. I'm just stubborn because I'm like, what's that character in Star Wars, Ahsoka? I didn't watch that series, but she seemed like a badass character. Padme was kind of like that too. But I am kind of like, I go, how am I going to do this? Because when you date, you go on dates, you go to restaurants, you order food. And I'm like, I know I need to gain more weight. But in all honesty too, I sometimes, because I can't afford some foods and stuff, so I fast, you know, or I eat the one big meal or whatever. But I go, how am I going to do this? Like, what if I invite someone over, I go to their apartment, are they going to try to hurt me? Or, you know, what if he orders food and he says, oh, I'll cook for you, you know, how am I going to do that? How am I going to trust that he's not going to like poison me or something with his food, or he's going to give me wine or tequila or something and it's going to be laced with something? Or I get in his car and his car has some weird gas in it. Like, how do I, he's not like some super secret assassin. Why I would even encounter that, I don't know. I don't think I'm that special. But I try to remind myself, I go, Ashley, you're a normal girl. You're like everyone else. And you deserve to be loved and treated with respect. You're not what these people say that you are. You're not a lab rat. You're not a guinea pig. You're a person. and I want to be treated like that. And maybe I'm not in the right state for that, I don't mean headspace, but I mean like physically. Maybe I'm not in the best state for that for whatever reason. But I go, if I'm here now, there's a reason why, because God plopped me here, and that's the way circumstances played out. But honestly, I feel like I'm more East Coast. I'm like a New England girl, I think, at heart, which I never thought. I'm like a Latina New England person. I would love to go to Boston, if I'm being honest. Boston seems very... Also, because, what's the movie? Legally Blonde with Elle Woods or whatever. That's what I get excited about. Other people get excited. I get excited about, like, walking. Like, when I walked in around Yale, because I think I forgot why I stopped off there. I was in Connecticut, and I was like, oh my God, when am I ever going to be in Connecticut again? So I stopped off in Yale. That was so cool. I was fangirling so hard because I was like, oh my God, I was like, look at the buildings, there's like older, and like it was so awesome. But anyways, I digress. That'd be cool to meet like an educated Yale person. I don't know, I'm not even gonna go there, just because I also don't want, like, who's a good role model for a spouse is Jack. I'm gonna write that name down. Jack from This Is Us. He's an excellent role model. Milo Ventimiglia did such a good job with that. It's tragic though, because I'm not gonna spoil the thing, but that relationship, that is such a good relationship too. Well, I'll be honest, the latter part of it, when the kids were older, Mandy Moore's character was kind of like, because I think Jack was her stability, and then it takes place in Pittsburgh, but Jack was her stability. And, I actually don't want to spoil it, but anyways, the beginning part when they were falling in love and getting to know each other, I think that's a really good, depiction to go off of a relationship, in my opinion. That one, and what's the Jane the Virgin one? Jane the Virgin with, the characters Jane Villanueva and Michael. I don't mean Michael Scott from The Office. I mean Michael from... the character was a police officer. It's actually a really good show because it's like there's a little bit of crime weaved into it, but it's a love story. It's about Jane, and she gets artificially inseminated with someone else's sperm, who is Raphael. And then Raphael owns this like hotel, and he's like super rich and wealthy, but he's kind of playboy, but then he had cancer and he reformed himself. But he's married to a bitch named, what the fuck is her name? Not Aneshka. What the hell is her name? Petra. So then Petra is very money hungry, and then, all about the look and aesthetic. And then Jane is very she's a writer and she's a waitress. And then she becomes a teacher at a Catholic school, or a teacher in general, I think. And then she goes to grad school. But within that, she has a love interest. His name is Michael, and they met because he was, there was a disturbance for her 21st birthday, and he was the cop to stop it, and then they got together and whatever. And then later on, when Mateo's born, who's Raphael's son, that they don't, what's it called? I forgot how and why. I don't want to give away too much. But it's with some drug lord lady named Sin Rostro, who was a woman who was Raphael's stepmom. I don't know. But there's crime weaved into it. Mateo, the little baby, almost gets kidnapped. She holds him for ransom. And then it's basically like a telenovela. If you've never seen it, it's like a telenovela. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But anyways, Brett Dyer, and I tell myself, I'm like, am I team Raphael or am I team Michael? I don't know. If you haven't seen the show, it used to be on Netflix, and I rewatched it. You know what the other one too is a good relationship to go off if you guys want to. These are my top thing. Jack from This Is Us, Michael, and Raphael got better after. The character, he became more, after Mateo was born, and he had this kid, he became more paternal, and he really started to care about Jane. But then it was a love triangle because Michael liked Jane, and then and then they were always at odds with each other. And then Jane married Michael, and then Raphael was still the father of Matteo, and he wanted to be in his life. So then Raphael gets his own apartment, and then whatever, and then I'm not gonna spoil the rest of it, but then Michael, I'm not gonna say what happens. Anyways, but I will say Michael gets a heart attack, but then somehow he comes back from the dead, but then she's with, and he has like amnesia, but then Raphael and her, and because Raphael's Mr. Papichulo player guy, but then they get together because they start to date, and then Michael gets jealous, it's a whole thing. So, so This Is Us, from Jack from This Is Us, that character, and then Brett Dyer's character, who's the actor who plays Michael, as the cop, and then Dean from Gilmore Girls. That's the other one. I thought Dean. So in Gilmore Girls, there's Dean, there's Jess, and then there's Logan Huntsberger. Logan is like a super preppy, like Ivy League guy, fraternity guy. Because Rory was really smart. So if you've never seen the show, Rory's the daughter of Lorelai. Lorelai had Rory at like a young age, and then they got really close. They moved to Stars Hollow in Connecticut. It's like literally one of my favorite shows. I should watch it. Again, no, I don't have. Do I have that? I only have Netflix. No. But yeah, it's Amy Sherman Palladino did like this. The writing was so good, so good. Melissa McCarthy plays Suki. There's a lot of people in it, but anyways, Dean was played by Jared Padalecki. So cute. But that the way he depicted it, the way the relationship was between Dean and Roy, that I think, and she was being a little bitch though. She didn't appreciate him enough. But their relationship, I think, is another. So all together, those are kind of like the role models, And PETA too from Hunger Games. He was a good guy. Josh Hutcherson did a good job depicting that character because he was very and he was a baker, and he cared about Katniss and stuff. When that movie came out, I was like, oh my god. But that character, that dynamic, and that involvement was nice to see. So I encourage you, if you're like, how am I going to survive targeting and dating? I do think it's possible to meet someone who, because if they're willing, when there's a will, there's a way. When someone wants to make an effort to get to know you, they're willing to go, okay, we'll figure it out and we'll do it together. And I don't mean like using a man, or if you're a man watching this and it's a woman, I don't mean using that person to be your crutch. Because I did the trauma bond thing. And I'm just starting now I have little twinges when I hear his name and stuff, but I'm having little twinges where I'm like, I flashback and I go, but then I go, no. I go, there's no chemistry, there was just no communication. And you can't over idealize and fall in love with potential. You have to care about the person. So, if you know yourself and you know what you want, and create your own little thing. Look at the movies and the stories. If you read books, like if you I don't know, Harry Potter, or they didn't really have any love interest in Harry. There was Ginny Weasley and Harry Potter. I don't know if Hermione and Ron got together. Hermione got with that guy from the Slavic guy once. Was this Slavic or Russian? I don't know. She was with the guy. What was his name? Igor. It was when they danced at the Yule Ball or whatever. So maybe use that. Say, what are your favorite role models in TV or books and stuff, and try to invoke that and say that's the kind of relationship I want with someone. Anyone just shows, but shows mimic real life, right? The story of This Is Us is a very true depiction about foster care, adoption, tragedy, heartbreak, family drama, love, true love. So, but yeah, those are the kind of ones that I go off of. So TBD, not to be determined, to be continued, TBC, to be continued. It's kind of where I'm at. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna, if you ever see someone and go, oh, this is the person that I'm gonna do, maybe. But, you know, I used to watch, when I used to watch YouTube years ago, there were people it was for makeup tutorials and whatnot, and I used to enjoy seeing, like, with one girl was like, oh, this is my boyfriend now, this is whatever, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, no way, I was like, it's so cool, you know. So not that I would do that, but I am kind of like keen on I don't know, I've been through a lot, and to have someone by my side, and I have no problem saying, hey, I have no friends, like, I've lost all my friends, not like physically, but like they've gone to different states, or they different, just, life happens, you go your separate ways, people go to college and whatnot, so that's what happens. So I'm not a weirdo. I don't think I'm super weird. I could be sometimes awkward. I'm like an ambivert. When I don't know someone, I'm very shy, and then when I get to know them, I talk. I'm open. I'm more open about it. So lips sort of chapped. So yeah, that's that, and we'll see how that turns out. I'm just grateful to be alive. Any day that you're on the other side of the grass is a good day. In the words of Forrest Frank, there's a song he has called Good Day. He's a Christian artist, but it's a good day. If you're breathing, again, another Christian song is Alive and Breathing. I don't know who sings it. Who sings it? Was it Brandon Lake? I don't know. It's in my Christian playlist. And yes, if you want to call me a Jesus freak, I really don't give a shit. I'd rather be kind and have a moral compass and guiding principles and whatever, because that's my faith, than be someone who doesn't. But I will leave it with this on that note. Alive and Breathing is the name of the song. It is by Matt Maher. Maher? I don't know, Maher. And below that, the song is by Elevation Worship, Trust in God. I listen to that song a lot at my, like, scariest points. So, because I do believe God is good. There's a benevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, the 3 O's. And I pray to that source energy or guide or whatever, and positive being energy, whatever you want to call it, that permeates throughout existence and whatnot. I do pray to that, and I do believe that me staying alive through everything I've gone through, though, yes, I have not, one thing my father used to say is, yeah, have you been physically hurt, though? And I'm like, but that doesn't count. Abuse is abuse. It doesn't have to be physical to be considered abuse. It could be spiritual, emotional, narcissistic, financial, sexual. It doesn't have to be physical. Like, someone doesn't have to physically lay their hands on you or beat you to a pulp to be considered abuse. You can be gaslit every day. That's psychological warfare. That's psychological abuse. You can be coerced into a relationship or groomed. That's abuse. You can be ridiculed and, insulted every day. That's verbal abuse. If someone doesn't value your time and overworks you, that's abuse. If you get underpaid, that recently happened to me, unfortunately, and I never thought that would happen. And, a family member of mine said, oh, but you didn't give your 2 weeks. And I go, I wasn't even in the role yet. I was still training. That's life, people. In the words of Frank Sinatra, that's life. He says, that's life. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm going to change that tune when I'm back on top in June. So I don't know if that's going to apply to me. That would be nice, but I can't say I'm that much of a master manifester, but I do believe that I matter. And I go, if I would treat someone like that and give my heart and my soul then I would imagine someone else would do the same. And if you want to, if it helps you, buy a little. I think I got this on Amazon. It's my little dude. I bring him with me everywhere. It was funny because I saw a little thing. You can say what you want about the Kardashians. You can say all you fucking want. I don't know them personally, but there was an episode. There was a little clip I saw on, was it Facebook? There was a little clip somewhere, or Instagram, and it was Kris Jenner, and there was a little bowl of, she had these little Jesus figurines, and I was like, bro. And then I don't know if it was Chloe Chloe was like, Moms, you need to take your medication. And then she's like, but they're so cute. And I was like, I do that. I was like, I'll do that. I don't give a shit. I'll keep a little fucking figurine, excuse my language. If it makes me feel safe, I will keep. And she had like 50 million of them in a bowl. And I'm like, hey, more power to her, you girl. Like, I don't play about Jesus. Like, I would have a bowl of them. Lucky her. She has a whole little bowl of Jesus in her living room. You know? But my equivalent would be I have that, and I do have my little cross thingy. I have my little trinket thingy. I think I've showed this before in my other videos. I have my, I have so much shit. This is my like little trinket bag. I have my San Rafael Archangel thingy. I got this in Cape May, New Jersey. I have my Archangel Michael card. I don't remember where I got this, but I love it. And it has a prayer on the back of it. And then I have my guardian angel. There's so many. I have guardian angel thingy from, this is Natural Life, by the way. This is what the brand, it says Natural Life. And actually, let me open it up. You can't really see it. It says on the back, tell the little angel your worries and place it under your pillow before you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, your worries will be gone. I don't know if that's true, but it's fun to believe it. But I never took it out of the thing. I kept it in the thing. But it says Natural Life. That's the company. If you're in Jacksonville, they probably have the flagship store there. Man, I have bad cramps right now. Oh my god. I have bad cramps. Was it time of the month? It must TMI, but I have my, what else do I have? A guardian angel, another guardian angel. And then I have my picture of me with a cat in a bowl. When I went to Washington, D.C., and I have a picture of me. I went to this cat cafe by myself called Crumbs and Whiskers, and the lady took a picture of me because I wanted to do all these things that I hadn't done before on my bucket list. And so there's the cat in the bowl. He literally hung out in the bowl. That's when I had they had little Fuji film. And then this is my Nana. That was me and my Nana and I. Her name's Josephine. And we were at a restaurant called La Nona, and that was from 2018. And I remember that moment very distinctly. I was very happy. And I keep her with me because why not? And then I have, this is St. Valentine of love. And I don't know if there's a legit St. Valentine, but this again I got in Cape May, New Jersey. And then, what else? Oh, this is from State of Being. This is a candle shop in Philadelphia. She makes, another shout out for another business, small business, but she actually I think is very notable, but she makes the best. Her candles helped me so much with coping through stuff. They're expensive though, but she says the same thing that Miranda Kerr said. She says when we change our thoughts and include our bodies, we open ourselves up to a whole new state of being. But she kind of, that same idea is like when you change your thoughts, you can change your reality. And then I have a bunch of other little things like guardian angel necklaces and shit. So that's the equivalent. Like Kris Jenner has the little Jesus trinkets. I have my other little trinkets. And they make me happy. I don't know if it works. It's fun to believe it works, but I just, Norman. Oh, this is Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell. Cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl around about the world seeking the ruin of souls. I thought I had, but I have, I have my little, not like a little rosary thing, but anyways, I keep St. Benedict there and my other little trinkets. And it works for me. Prayers, songs, worship, and whatever in my baggie. Oh shit, it fell on the floor. I thought I had no other, but I also do, I will have a little alarm on me. My mom actually got me this. It's a little thing called Birdie, and it's a little alarm that you can pull apart, and it goes meow, meow, meow. Luckily, I haven't had to do it. I also keep pepper spray with me. So, that is that. So, yeah, if you're like, how are you going to do dating? I don't know. But all I know is that I would offer that same empathy and patience to someone if he was going through that. I don't want to be a floozy and give up my body so easily. But I will say some connections, I don't completely shun the casual thing. Because here's the thing, folks. Sometimes the casual can lead to the whatever, the non-casual thing. You never know. Maybe the sparks are there and it's so, the intimacy and the friendship and whatever is so, I don't say intense, but it's so palpable that you go, hey, I think I like, you never know. You never know. Some people, one guy told me he did that, and he said he had a relationship that he actually met the girl. I don't know if it was on Tinder or whatever, and it actually turned out to be something good. And I don't know if they dated or became roommates or whatever, but I'm open to, like, I'm open to whatever, as long as people are honest and kind and they're safe and they show me that they're willing to, invest in, getting to know me and me the same way, then why not? So we'll see how that goes. TBC. And it's a work in progress because nothing's ever perfect. No one's perfect. As long as you try, I think that's what matters. And my story is very unique. I don't know if I'm ever gonna, I have family that says you'll never get closure. No one's gonna come to rescue you. No one's gonna come to your aid. But I like to think that I go, if I was a police officer, if I was in that position, I'm different. I would come to someone's aid. And that's what makes me distinct from other people. While other people are sitting there talking shit or gossiping about me, I'm probably praying for them. More than likely. So, yeah. I pride myself on that. The world can use a lot more kindness. But then people take advantage of people and their kindness, and they mistake kindness for weakness. So, I will leave it at that. And for the targeted people, if you want to be like, you're crazy, I would never do that. What we tell ourselves will determine our reality, or at least our mindset and our attitude. And this is coming from someone who literally, I've lost, I don't know how many pounds because I experienced a spiked drink and food and roofies and whatever. And I said, I'm going to make it through this. I don't know how. I haven't even bought vitamins and stuff because I'm scared someone could tamper with the vitamins from a store. I'm not kidding. There's certain foods I'm like staying away from because I've had bad experiences after eating them, like chicken that was sealed in the box. And I go, who would be so mean to do that to someone? Even if it was let's just say the whole thing is just someone testing people like me or whatever, like seeing what I'm made out of. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know. But let's just say that. I don't think that. I think there's evil people because when I do readings, it says criminal, thief, something in there within that. And so, whatever, but you do the best that you can. And you pray to God for protection and discernment and guidance. And that's it. And I tell myself, if I exist, I know that there's a divine counterpart in a male form that exists like me. And it may take a while for both people to cross paths and get there, but eventually it will get there. When there's a will, there's a way. You don't go looking for it, you know. You don't force things into existence. Like, and it's funny I mentioned I don't know why I mentioned the Kardashians so much, but Kendall Jenner, she said, I saw her quote, or she said something, I don't chase, I attract. Chasing energy is very like I'm desperate and needy. And that's, let me tell you, that's intimidating for some people. Because when you know yourself, that's intimidating to some men. When they see a woman who's like, I'm not needy, I'm whatever. And I'm not talking about, because there was a point in my life where I was relying on when I first got here and after living in Indiana and I had really weird situations happening, I leaned on some people, and they were men. They were opposite sex, and they were like kind of like love interests or whatever, romantic interests. And I was very, very distraught because I wasn't talking to my parents. I didn't have any support system. So I was relying a lot on these men that I knew in my life. And it did come off needy, but I wasn't like needy for the romance or for sex. I was literally just, I needed safety and I was scared. So that's different. Like seeking comfort and safety and security is different. I'm talking about the regular schmegular everyday thing. If you're gonna go around and you're gonna be like, but I need a man in my life, work on yourself first. Love yourself first. Figure it out what it is that you want out of a partner. Be your own partner to yourself. Because here's the thing, you can't be a partner to someone else if you're not a partner to yourself first. Because then what you're gonna do is you're gonna end up trying to find yourself in someone else, and you're gonna rely on that person to fix parts of you that they're not responsible to fix. I know I've done the inner healing shadow work stuff. Now it's just a matter of trying to build my life up. You know, build it back, because it got destroyed. It went to the bottom of the barrel in the pits. Like, I'm in bikini bottom. Like put it this way. Like, you know how SpongeBob has his pineapple? Because I try to make the situation lighthearted. Like, because instead of saying I'm at the bottom of the barrel, I'm at rock bottom, I say I'm in bikini bottom, because it's cuter. But I literally am in bikini bottom. But I'm not even bikini bottom. I'm like the dirt. Like, you know how SpongeBob has his pineapple? I'm like the dirt underneath. I'm like, you know how Patrick lives in his rock? I'm like, if you dig underneath the rock, like under SpongeBob's house, that's where I am. Like 10 feet below SpongeBob's house. I'm not kidding. And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to, I'm trying to make like a lighthearted joke of a really unfortunate and tragic situation, because things just were really unfair and unjust that happened to me. And I am scared about being murdered. Like, I'm not kidding. Or if there's a bounty on my head. And if you say, what proof of there is that? Well, I've had really weird thumbnails show up on my computer. And maybe it was just some hacker or scammer being stupid. But I took it seriously, and it scares me. And it's not funny to joke around. And if you're a hacker, by the way, if you're watching my channel and you're like, oh, she's so funny. Listen, bro, girl, whoever you are, I'm going to continue living my life as best as I can. But I don't appreciate this bullshit. Just going to say that, because who knows. But I'm going to try my best to move forward. Because I deserve to have a beautiful life. And whoever you are that's obsessed with having a death grip or chokehold on my life and you think it's funny, it's not funny. Because you wouldn't be laughing if the same thing happened to you. And whereas you're trying to badger me, I most likely prayed for you. So if you want to come after me and the other people that I date or I'm talking to, so be it. Or if there's a whole plot and plan to try to trick me and dupe me, hopefully God will alert me of that and warn me of it beforehand. But I'm not as dumb and naive as I was 3 years ago. I'm still kind. I have a soft heart, but I have a strong spine. So, and I still do believe in true love. In this crazy ass, maniacal, almost devilish, sometimes world that we live in, I remind myself that there is still immense amount of grace and immense amount of goodness. I see it in the trees, I see it in the sky, I see it in the charity work that people do for people. Like when the LA wildfires happened, so many people came together to help people. I remember I donated to that. I was on the GoFundMe thing. I donated, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago when that happened. Hurricane Maria, Hurricane Katrina. It's amazing how when tragedy happens or disasters happen, you see the true humanity. Now with gang stalking, it's a little different because that's when a fire happens and it destroys a bunch of stuff, or a tsunami or an earthquake, that's a physical manifestation of a tragedy or natural disaster. I can't prove a hacker. I can't prove gang stalker weirdos on the highway or in the service plazas rolling urine bottles to the car, or the rental car guy giving me a faulty car with gas. Like, I can't do that unless their phone gets tapped and with a wiretap. I can't do that. I can just be cautious is the best thing I can do. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I owe it to myself. I'm going to continue to push forward. Even if I don't ever want to be 70 pounds, that would be very scary. But I deserve to have a beautiful life. And if you're part of it and you're watching my channel and you're seeing, me trying to move forward, I don't have a choice. There's no way to go but up. And I may cry sometimes at night. I may, say, why me? Why did this happen to me? How do I move on from it? Where do I go from here? I don't want to feel tied or obligated to anybody because of whatever, But I know that there are good people out there that don't take bribes, that can't be bought off or paid off. I know that because I'm not one of them. I'm not a dirty, rotten scoundrel. There are dirty, rotten scoundrels and people who steal from people and hurt from people and rape and lie and murder. I'm not one of those people. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if I die trying, I die trying. Because at this day and age, or at this stage, I don't know what's called, with gang stalking and stuff, they say that people use all these weapons and things and poisons and to get people sick with cancer. I could have cancer for all I know. I could have leukemia or osteosarcoma. One girl said that they tried to poison her dog and kill her and then give her cancer. Criminals don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. I hate to tell you, I learned this the hard way. You can't change someone. Criminals, they don't give a shit. They have one goal. Terrorists don't give a shit. That's why they're called terrorists. I'm sorry, YouTube, if I get flagged for that. I don't mean it in a negative. I'm just saying in the grand scheme of they don't give a shit. Their hearts are not the same as mine and yours. It's different. Their brains aren't even the same. Literally, they've done scans on brains of people that are sociopaths or whatever. Their brains are different. The cerebral cortex and different parts of their brain, they don't have the empathy. They lack empathy. They're apathetic. So, and when someone wants something from someone, they will stop at nothing to get it. They don't care. You can be the most nicest, loveliest person, but if they are cruel and they are, murderous, or greedy and money hungry, they will plunder, pillage, steal, lie, scapegoat someone to just save their ass and get their way. I hate to say it. But then again, I remind myself I exist and I'm good. So there must be other people that are good like me too. There has to be. I refuse to believe that there aren't. Does it mean that maybe they'll put themselves in harm's way? I don't know. All I know is that I'm going through a lot, and let me tell you, like I said, I'm scared because I've sensed heavy metals. I had a metallic taste in my mouth a few times. My right side, like my spleen or where my liver is, was in pain so much. I go, oh God, because if people are, let's say, poisoned with heavy metals, right? I can go into kidney failure, I can have organ failure, but if it's not enough to take me out, but over time, it'll be really bad. And that hurts your brain, it sits in your nerves, you get numbness and tingling in your fingers, paresthesia, like it's bad. And there is such a thing as respected human rights, and I don't know if Congress or if they even give a shit. There's so many things going on in this world, but they should. Because we all matter. I matter, you matter. Bonnie matters. All the dogs and cats matter. So, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I do slowly but surely. I mean, because that's the thing too. Like if it's a murder plot, like I've thought before, or something scary, I go, what if I go out on a date and the guy's like, here, have a glass of wine, or, here's a piece of chewing gum, and I chew the gum, and who knows, or he hugs me and he has something on his shirt. I'm not naive to that, but I trust that God will protect me, and I will have the emotional, mental wherewithal and capacity to say, hey, that doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. So you guys should exercise that same caution and discernment in your lives too. It's just, for me, it's just a little bit more elevated because of other stuff. So yeah. But I would love to hear if other people, if you've tried to date, how does that go down? What's the dynamic like with your family members? If do they believe you? Have you had your family members meet said other person? Where did you meet your person? Are you doing dating apps, or did you, like, I'm curious to know what that dynamic is like, because, what happens when you're targeted is that usually you can't lead a normal life, and the people that you date are, considered what they call honeypots or honey traps. So they're there by obligation to, like, babysit you or keep whatever, to psychologically undermine and thwart you and sabotage you. I don't know why people do that. I don't know what the purpose or motive is to psychologically just torment someone and torture them, but that is something that people do. Maybe just because they're cruel and money hungry. Or maybe they were fed lies about the targeted person. I don't know. I just know that I wouldn't accept a bribe or whatever. But that's me. I don't do that. But other people would. Other people don't have a moral compass like some people do. They're like, fuck that. I don't care about morals and ethics. I do. So, we'll see, how that plays out. But all I know for now is that I'm grateful to be alive. I have goals, I have ambitions and dreams and hopes, and if people go, oh, you're so funny because if you have a target on your back, whatever, but it's, I don't know, I feel like there's people out there, like, just like there's guardian angels in the sky or whatever, I think there's, the same thing can be said for the earthly, the physical plane, God's police, if you will. There's guardians in the spiritual, the non-physical, and maybe there's guardians in the I may not be able to see them, but maybe I can feel them. And if you are someone that knows about my story, and by the grace of God you've tried to help me and protect me, I hope that your loved ones and your family, if you're a family man or if you're a woman, I don't know, whatever, I hope that your loved ones stay safe. And maybe I don't know you, but all I know is that when you do God's work or you do the right thing, forget about if you're atheist, I'm not going to say God's work because I don't want to offend people, because some people are not religious or spiritual, so and that's the thing, I respect all people. So when people are like, oh, she doesn't, it's the satanic people, listen, I looked up the satanic thing, there's a difference between churches, whatever. I don't have any beef to pick with those people. Or Scientologists, everyone has their own thing that they're doing, but I will say that what I've learned is that when you give love and you pay it forward, you get that back tenfold. So when you pray for other people other than yourself and you don't expect anything back from it, or you do God's work, or not God's work, if you protect other people, I guarantee you, and when you do it when it's hard too, you will have divine spiritual protection, supernatural favor over your life. Joel Osteen says this. So whether you're a fan of Joel Osteen or not, that's inconsequential. But my point is that usually when you think of someone other than yourself, you will probably have supernatural divine favor of your life, where other people experience misfortune because of selfishness and greed. And if you say, yeah, but then why does evil win? You don't know what's being done behind the scenes. You don't know what strings are being pulled on the other side, or what God is doing. And then when it's our time to go, it's our time to go, because we learn our lessons and whatever, we carry on. But some people have a mission, and that's why they're still here. So, and when you do lose someone, when someone passes away, it is tragic, because their physical presence was once there, and then they're no longer there. That's really hard to overcome, like a child or a pet or a mother, or father, uncle, whatever, a friend. But relationships are very important. A social network and social support is important, especially through targeting. And I hope that everyone, regardless of gang stalking, I hope people find a person that they can go through life with and cherish that person and really truly love them. Because, doing this whole divorce thing, I don't like you and this and whatever, you like them for 2 seconds and it's like, but I don't want to live with them. It's like, bro, like, you were dating for how long? Like, no. So yeah, I don't know how it's gonna work out, because with the dating, you have to go to restaurants, and I really can't afford to anyways. So, it'll figure itself out. I don't know. It might take a long time. It might take years, but I still believe in the goodness of humanity, even as ugly as it can be, and cruel, because people are really freaking mean. Like, just, what was it? I realized, this is important to note. It was maybe several months ago, I was going through my phone, and I was deleting voicemails just to free some storage on my phone. And I found out that a job that I had in Philadelphia as a server, I was going to make a lot of money at this place called Bankroll. It was this new innovative sports lounge, like fine dining, like upscale casual meets sports bar, right? It was a new up-and-coming kind of club, that was going to happen. Restaurant by day, kind of lounge, club, sports bar at night. And I was really excited for the opportunity. And I found out, I did one interview, and then the next interview I was waiting for the manager to call me. I never heard from her. Later found out that her thing went into blocked voicemails. So I think a hacker or someone purposely blocked that thing. So the whole time I'm thinking, I didn't get the job, maybe because of targeting. I was going to get the job, and I was going to start, and I was going to get the interview with the GM. But someone, I think, messed with my phone and put her voicemail in a blocked thing, because I would never do that. So people are mean. People are mean. People will deliberately find ways to sabotage you, and that is very hard to work around. Techie people, they can do a lot of damage. So when people are like, but hacking's not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. But I will figure it out, and I trust that there are good people behind the scenes who will help me. I don't know who, but I'm going to trust that will happen. And, bit by bit, I will build my life up again. It may not be perfect. It may not look the way that I thought it was going to look. And maybe I'm not doing my dream career that I wanted to do. But to me, as long as I'm contributing to the greater good of society, as long as I always tell myself, as long as I could leave this earth knowing that I made a positive impact, I don't want to go yet. And I get scared of that, because I am scared. I am scared. Because it's weird, all this stuff that I'm going through. But with faith and love and sincerity and integrity, I do believe I can get over it and overcome it. And surround myself with people who will be sources of strength and solidarity. Not this cruel, oh, it didn't happen, you need to move on, and there's no abuse, there's no one's poisoning you, no one's doing this. No, like, I know my heart and I know my gut. I'm the kind of person that I will literally pray for the earth, and I will envision the earth wrapped with a white light around it to protect everything in it and its inhabitants, and I will do that. That's the kind of person I am. And I think when you exemplify that, you set a precedent, and you start a trend and a domino effect, and that a ripple effect. And I would say, as long as I make a positive impact in someone's life, especially a child's life, that's all that matters to me. I'm not into the whole money thing. You know, it's nice. Like, if I had money, I will be honest, like vacations, experiences, that is pretty cool. I would love that. I think that's more important to me than buying a bunch of things, because you can get a bunch of things. I lived that life. I grew up in Coral Gables, Florida. I was very, I don't say wealthy, I was upper middle class. I felt so blessed and privileged and fortunate. So I don't know if I'm going to get that back ever, but I will give thanks first and foremost to be alive, because health really is wealth. Without health is nothing. You could be the richest person in the world. If you find out that you have this and that, it's nothing. It goes away. So, that being said, I'm going to do the best that I can with what I've got, and I'm going to trust that God will lead me or guide me down, the right path, so that I meet the right people at the right place and at the right time. And I'm not going to force anything with anybody, a relationship, a job, because you know what, at the end of the day, it's the same thing with relationships and jobs. If a job wants you, they will do what they need to do and they will recognize your worth. They'll say, I see her potential. Maybe she might not have all the experience that we want, but I see her potential or his potential, and I want them on my team because they're motivated, they're positive, and they're a go-getter, and they seem like a team player. Same thing with a relationship. If someone really wants you, a guy, whatever, if you're a guy and you're watching this, whatever, and you're straight, and you'll know. They'll put the effort forth. And if they're stringing you along and breadcrumbing you, boo-hoo, that's not worth it. There's 7 billion people in this world. Trust me, man. 7 billion, 8 billion people probably. I guarantee out of those 8 billion, there's someone somewhere, maybe in Nantucket or Ireland or Scotland or Africa or Australia or Oklahoma or I don't know, Oregon, Washington, I don't know, whatever. And they will do what I don't even care. There's a video I saw of a guy, he's like, where he said, when the guys go, oh, you're too far, you're like an hour away. There's people, here's the thing though, I will say this. It is hard because I don't want, like, for me, if I met a guy who was at a distance from me, I'm open now to long distance, because I go, at the end of the day, you can kind of make it work, right, if it's the right person. But I do feel bad because then they have to get in the car, and that's money for them because they have to spend gas, and I feel bad because I'm like, oh, I want to pay them back. But I did see a video of one guy, he was like, oh, all the guys are like, oh, she lives too far, or I don't want to drive an hour and a half to see her. And this guy's like, bro, he bought a plane ticket, and he's like, I'll be willing to come to you for a first date to see you, cheap plane ticket, but that's a gentleman. So the women out there that are like, oh, but I don't, want to, it's not possible, whatever. It's possible. You have to be willing to, like, believe that it can happen, and it will. So, hopefully, that gives you some, motivation, encouragement. Hopefully I'll be alive tomorrow, because every day is a new thing, right? I feel like every day there's another challenge with this whole targeting, gang stalking thing, but I'm alive and breathing. I feel blessed for that, and I hope that one day this will all be nothing but a memory. And I can get a job, and a job that's meaningful to me and worthwhile, where I'm valued and respected with a positive work culture. Because unfortunately, when you go through this stuff, they interject themselves into the workspace somehow, some way. So I am hopeful. I don't know. We'll see. And one that has a good salary. And if it doesn't have a good salary, then I will seek out opportunities to make a little bit more income here and there. So, and if anyone says, oh, but I prayed for it and whatever, you have to do the work. You have to get off your butt to do it. God's not just going to be like, oh, let me give you no. You have to do the resume. You have to apply. You have to reach out to people, network, whatever, and build the life that you want, even despite targeting and stuff, because gang stalkers aren't going to go anywhere. I realize that. It's been 6 years. They're not going to go anywhere. And they're going to start rumors. They're going to lie about you. They're going to frame you. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to try to poison you, kill you, drug you, leave you left for dead. And if not that, put you in a mental institution and turn everyone in your family against you, etc., 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 and possibly almost scapegoat and sacrifice you. But if you believe in something greater, and if you yourself exudes love and light and goodness, then you can overcome that. But also just be careful though, because they will try to tamper with the places you go to. Because recently I went to the grocery store, and unless it was a coincidence, but one of the plastic bags I touched, I think it had like a scary thing that made my hand go numb. So just be aware of your surroundings, because these people, they don't play. They don't play. So just be careful, be mindful, and discerning, and but never. Was it Never Say Never? Was that the band, The Fray? I think Never Say Never. If you can't find the sunshine, create the sunshine. Be that. Be sunshine. The world has so much darkness in it as it is, that we could use more light. Be the light, and you may get you killed. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, they crucified a perfectly good man. So what do you expect? And that was eons ago. Martin Luther King he got murdered or assassinated. John Lennon got assassinated. John F. Kennedy got assassinated. Charlie Kirk got assassinated. I don't really know much of Charlie Kirk, but I'm just naming the people that, The Parkland shooting with the kids. Columbine. These things are preventable, But when someone wants someone gone, they will do whatever they can to eliminate that person, unfortunately. That's the hard truth. So as fun and it's nice to be butterflies and roses, I am realistic to the fact that evil happens. People get bounties put on their head, hits on them, targets, and you navigating that is very tricky. I still have trigger words. Trick is a trigger word for me. But nonetheless, you do your best, and you carry on, and you push forward, and you just pray, and you give thanks to God for another day, and like I'm still scared sometimes to eat. I'm like, what can I eat? What's safe at the grocery store? How do I know that the guy behind the counter, like I haven't ordered chicken or meat or anything in a long time, because I'm like, what if the guy preparing it or even the farmer, you know, preparing it or whatever, did something and knows the guy who knows the guy, and then I pray that, you know, someone has a change of heart and they say, no, I'm not going to hurt this woman, because you treat others as you wish to be treated. So I hope you do that. God bless. Peace.